and welcome to another book review. Today we will be reviewing This Monster of Mine by Shalini Abisakara. I'm sorry if I butchered that. And this is a debut novel. It came in the April Fairyloot box, and yes, I have actually read it, and I have read it in the same month that it came in. Go me. Because when I unboxed it and I read the blurb out, you can find the unboxing somewhere up there and down below if you want to have a look. The blurb just was screaming at me that it had to be my next read because it promised me it was everything that I would want. Just my kind of thing, and seemingly written screaming for my attention. So let's see what that blurb was. She knows the taste of death. He'll stroke her hunger for it. Saray doesn't know why someone tried to kill her, but she does know that her case was closed without justice. 4 years later, she returns to the scene of the crime with a new face and a job as a petitioner, a prosecutor who can magically detect lies. She is assigned to work with the ice-cold and perennially sadistic Tetrarch Kadra, the most vicious of the 4 judges who rule the land, and the prime suspect in a string of deaths identical to Saray's attempted murder. Certain of his guilt and hell-bent on justice, Saray begins a double life, solving cases with Kadra by day and plotting his ruin by night. But Kadra is charming, and there's something alluring about the wrath he inflicts on the city's corruption. So when the evidence she uncovers embroils her in a deadly political battle, Saray must also fight against her attraction to Kadra, because despite his growing hold on her heart, his voice matches the only memory she has of her assailant. A dazzling ancient Rome-inspired fantasy, This Monster of Mine is a bloodbath of manipulation, deception, and forbidden love. And there are content warnings, so let's get in and see if they're actually relevant, now that I've read it. This romantasy runs quite dark and contains events that may be difficult to read. Please make every decision you must to keep yourself safe, even if that means stopping here. I remain so very grateful for your interest in This Monster of Mine. So we're going to get to it. This book contains the following. Alcoholism. There is a little bit of drinking. I wouldn't say it's alcoholism though. Bigotry. Oh, there's a lot of that. Immolation. Yep, people are set on fire. Amputation. Yep, there are limbs everywhere. Execution. Yes. Sex. Yes. Depression, yes. Gaslighting, yes. Graphic violence, yes. Mutilation, yes. PTSD, yes. Non-binary phobia, kind of a little bit it's alluded to. And abuse, absolutely. There's loads of it. Now what I'm going to talk about at the beginning is what the book looks like, because this is a special edition. So I like, this cover is just everything that this book is. The scales of law with the dagger behind. Perfect. And down on the bottom we have a heart with an arrow through it. That's pretty self-explanatory. And wisdom and wrath. Sprayed edges is of course the dagger. The dagger is, it comes into play. Now this was the reversible jacket. This is what the normal cover looks like, and I do quite like it. And Saray here in the middle, unsure of where to turn. That's the meekest she'll look in the whole book. She's a badass. But yeah, this is a pivotal scene in the book, and it is beautifully foiled over here. I think there's a bit too much foiling on her gown, but this is a pivotal scene near the beginning. It's where they finally start opening up to each other. And this also is a very, very pivotal scene. Near the end, everything's already gone to hell and they have to face it. Now going in, I thought my expectations might be a little bit high just because the blurb caught me so much. And I thought, well, it's a Fairyloot book, you know, they're gonna, even when they say that it's gonna be fantasy, they're probably a bit quite, you know, a bit fluffy to what I would usually go for. And I don't mind reading fluffy. Fluffy is kind of what I expected. The first chapter, the prologue in this, swiftly disabused me of that notion. Swiftly. It was like reading a horror reading this, and I was instantly invested. Because if you thought that this book was going to be cute to softly lead you into this lore, this whole big political thing that's going to be happening, you are swiftly disabused of that notion. There is brutal violence against a child in every way there possibly can be. Hint, now it wasn't on the trigger warning. I don't think it was on the trigger warning. It just says abuse. But it is graphically implied that there is child of the main character on page 2. And child mutilation. And murder. And this is on page 2 and 3 and 4. It's not, the thing is not graphically explained. It happened, you're in the mind of a different character who's there in the same room and is sort of running, puppeteering these strings, knows what's going to happen, knows what happens, is watching it happen. But it happens just out of the view of the reader, but you know it's happening, and you know that it's happening graphically without actually describing what's happening. It had me hooked with how dark it got, how fast it got dark, because it does. And I keep saying it, that it's on like page 2 or something. Page 1. One of the characters says, "I didn't even get to enjoy her." Page 1. This book is brutal. And that soft fluffy notion that I had that I thought was going in, swiftly got rid of. And I was hell-bent on vengeance with the main character because I wanted to know what these sleazeball criminals, how they managed to get away with it. Because what an introduction. That was just the first pages. That was the prologue. That wasn't even the main meaty thing. That was just the prologue. Saray is our main character. She is the only point of view we get. There's a bonus chapter at the back, but that doesn't count. She is the only point of view we have. And sometimes with a female character like that, it can be a bit whiny. It can be a bit boring. Saray, I think I'm saying her name right. That's how I heard it in my head. It's spelled Sarai. And there's no pronunciation guide in here. So I'm going to keep calling her Saray because that's how I read it. So Saray was none of those things. She's our only female lead, and she is a badass from start to finish. She is strong, she is hell-bent on revenge, we love it. But she also has a strong moral core. Not only all that, but she is far from only being one-dimensional. Revenge is what drives her. Revenge and finding the truth is what drives her, but she's not blinkered in her belief. She takes the time to evaluate people, evaluate what's going on around her and what the general consensus is, what the feel, if there is a crowd, what the feel of the crowd is compared to how she feels it should morally be. And she is quite morally grey, which is refreshing in a strong female lead. They're usually one way or the other. They don't usually go down the middle. Writers usually leave that for the guy. Now, as I alluded to in the prologue, Saray is the child, and because of this she has a whole heap of trauma that she has to deal with, and part of that her mind has blocked because it's too much. Her mind has blocked it out. She keeps getting flashes of it every now and then, but her mind has completely wiped it for her own sanity, for her own protection, for her own survival. But because of all this trauma, she is far from being a shrinking violet. All of that has hardened her into the woman we meet. And the woman we meet, she's 19. But my God, is she strong. She is the definition of a survivor, no matter the cost. If you can't tell already, I loved her. I'd love her. She's wonderful. She is the best female lead I have read in months. In fact, all year. I mean, this book, just everything. Absolutely everything. But does our male lead come up to scratch? Hell yes. Kadra is our main male lead, and he is diabolically swoon-worthy. If I had a list, if I wrote down everything I would want in a guy to be of interest, it would be the character sheet for this character. As problematic as that is, I probably should see a therapist, but we'll just keep going on with it. He is bad. He is vengeful. He is full of anger. He is incredibly sadistic. And I mean incredibly graphically sadistic. But he's also clever with it as well. We love it. Now, he is the youngest of these 4 judges, and his judgment is a little bit skewed because he believes that brutality can only be met with brutality. And in the world in which they live, that is true. That is very true. And that the people who do these crimes deserve to suffer slowly. And he makes sure they do. Slowly. And they feel every little bit of his judgment. And no, that is not a euphemism. It is brutal. This book is brutal. I wouldn't have expected this book to be in Fairyloot's box, but wow. Now, judging by how I have come across, you might get the impression that I liked reading this. I loved reading this, but I do have a criticism. My criticism is that I finished it, and I have no means to wipe my memory, and I am not able to have that experience ever again of first reading this. And I wish I could. It got 5 stars. I knew it was going to be a 5-star read in the first few chapters. That is how good the writing in this is. And it's a debut novel. What the hell? Some established authors cannot write this well. Wow. If you have watched any of my reviews, you know that most of my rankings, it's usually either a 3, or if I really, really like the book and I think the book's really amazing, it usually gets a 4. Books only get a 5 if they elicit some emotional response. I'm not saying that I have the emotional response of a rock, but it's quite hard to get in there. This book got in there because I cried twice. Not just once, but twice. Real tears. And we're going to go into it without spoilers, because I'm not going to spoil this because I want people to experience it. I want people to have the experience of reading this for the first time, and I would like to know your reaction. So if you have read this book, please let me know down below, because I need to talk to somebody about this book. How much I loved it, how much I loved every single part of it. The brutality, the whole lot. The political goings on, there is a lot of political goings on. Loved it. Loved it. It's perfect. Now, the 2 scenes that I have cried at, I didn't expect to cry. Especially the first time, and I certainly didn't expect to do it the second time. But the first time I did was a scene. I'm going to try hard to dance around any spoilers. It was a scene where Saray is our badass female lead. We have been in her head all the way through, and she is particularly vulnerable about herself, because what happens in the first few chapters is not only abuse but murder. She gets thrown off the highest tower and is broken on the ground. That's where the sort of the cracks come from in the pictures, because that is what she looks like. Although she does wear a glamour because she's looking for the person that did that to her, and going about in her normal skin is just going to set off alarm bells all over the place. And she wants it to sort of move in the shadows, especially since she believes it's Kadra that chucked her off. It's this particular scene where she is particularly vulnerable in front of Kadra. The walls that she has built around herself have crumbled into dust. She has not got anything to like wrap herself around again, like cocoon herself in herself. It's gone. And I can't rightly remember why, but I think something does happen that, or she's responsible for something. She feels responsible for something that she couldn't she thinks she could have prevented but wasn't able to. And her walls have crumbled, she is broken, and her glamour comes off. And Kadra sees her, properly sees her, for the first time. And it is so well written, she is incredibly vulnerable, just expecting all this hatred because that's all she has ever known. And he is just there for her. And it sounds like the bar is on the floor, but for him to let down his walls as well to meet her halfway is such a big deal in this book. It is such a momentous moment in the plot. And there were tears. And we only get Saray's point of view. We don't get Kadra's, so we don't get anything that he is thinking. We just get his actions, which is another reason why I love him so much. Because he's just made of concrete, but with like a soft core. I understand the term now, book boyfriend, because I love him. He's wonderful. He's amazing. He's brutal, sadistic, but amazing. And the second time I cried, and the first time was like a tear sort of welling up a bit. The second time, there were tears, proper tears. And that was the ending, which I'm not going to go into. I might dance around it a bit. But, oh my God, the ending. I saw it play out in my head like something from a movie, because it's not rushed, it is brutal, and you can see all this happening, and of course everything goes to shit. And there's a moment where they're in this, it's not an arena, it's a big sort of churchy building, and it's at the end. You think everything is failing, and there's something happens, and it happens like that, and you're left reeling along with the characters in it. You are left reeling, and you're only in Saray's head, and it happens so fast, and it's so hard to experience in her head. It's so well written, and you feeling the things that she's feeling, and the disbelief, and the how fast events can go, and tides can turn from one to the other, how fast things can happen. And when I turned the last page, because there's another scene straight after that, it's the only word I can use to describe it without giving full disclosure spoilers, is it is epic in every sense of that word. I could see it playing in my head. It is amazing, it is detailed, it is everything an ending for this magnitude of book needed. Slam dunk all the way. And I turned the last page, and I closed the book, and I put it on my lap. And I just sat there in the aftermath of being emotionally wrecked by a book. Because it was phenomenal. It was hard to process what this book had just done to my imagination. I hadn't felt that way in quite a while. And I flicked back, and I read the ending again to experience that again. And it was words are hard. I was trying so long to write the review for this. With a book I don't like, I can write the review really, really quick because anger drives me. With a book that I love, it's harder. With a book I adore, it's practically impossible to find the right words to get across how I feel about the book. And it's a debut novel. Like I said, some authors write for years and they don't come up with something this good. Now, it isn't a standalone. This is going to have a sequel coming out in 2026 called This Blade of Ours. Now, that's the only thing that is on Goodreads, is the title and the expected date of publication, which is 2026. There's no blurb or anything for it, and everything was I don't know how exactly they're going to move forward with it. I think there's maybe potential. Of course there's potential if she's writing a second book. It's just not clear what's going to happen in that other book. There were little tidbits surround, like there's other cities, there's other areas that are problematic, there's other characters. I just don't know where they're going to go with it, but you bet your life I will be along for the journey, and I would be cheeky and ask for the arc. I follow the author on Instagram, as some authors put up when arcs are going out, or when publishers are going to be doing it. I might email the publisher and find out, probably nearer the end of this year. I inhaled this book. I plan to inhale the second one whenever it comes out. If there's one book you are going to read this year, please let it be this one.
With each drop of ruby red, stories live, no tears are shed. Castles glimmer on the hill, echoes of a life fulfilled. With the dawn, new hope is born, in this heart no longer torn. Sip the wine, embrace the night, dark stars journey shining bright. Through the trials, through the pain, love and light shall still remain.